Scorpio rules other people's money, debt, taxes, and the money we owe. And when Venus moves into Scorpio, this is a really important time to be very mindful in making sure that you're paying down your taxes, that you're taking care of your debt, that interest that is accrued is being looked after, and you're paying more than just the minimum payment on things. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, She Tells Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at She Tells Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. Welcome to the Astro Forecast for the week of November 3rd through the 9th. This is a big week in the astrology. There are 3 planets changing signs, and we have a full moon, and Mercury goes retrograde. So, you know what that all means is that the energy is changing. And as humans, when things change, we feel very uncomfortable, we feel very unstable, and we have a lot of uncertainty, right? And so to create certainty in this week, we really need to stay grounded. You need to stay rooted in your values and your goals and your mission this week. So it's almost be a good little, reason right now, a good idea to write down your manifesto for who you are and who you are being this week. Maybe it is rooted, maybe it is joyful, maybe it is counting your blessings, even though world is going to be shifting this week quite a bit. These are sort of tasters of energy of things to come, and we're also moving through with divine timing, right? Everything is happening for an opportunity. So always being the observer and not the responder, or not the reactor. Maybe that'd be a better way to do it, because reacting versus responding is going to be a big thing this week. We want to respond rather than react. React feels it's in the moment. It's not thoughtful. It is not intentional. And you might most likely regret it. So being intentional, using this energy forecast to help you navigate this week is like key, y'all. And if you don't believe me, it's fine. You just take a listen and be like, all right, let's see what happens. And you will see what happens. This is one of those weeks where like the Astro girlies know what's what. You better believe I'm going to be like meditating this week. I'm going to be drinking my water. I'm going to be super hydrated. I'm going to be very wits about me, deep breathing this week and practicing patience. That is a good one this week. So we started the week in a second quarter moon phase in Aries. This Aries moon is going to make us a little triggery, right? A little fiery. We want to be like, get things done, impatient, but it's a spark of life. It gets things moving forward. And, with planets changing sign and Mercury going retrograde, not a lot is moving forward right now. So you can feel impatient. But to get some things done in your life, we're not just sitting around waiting for the harvest to fall off the trees. We actually have to do work this week. So using this Aries moon with intention is that you can use fire to create, not destroy. So really thinking about that this week. We started the week on Monday, November 3rd, with Venus in conjunct to Saturn retrograde. And Venus is in Libra. So this is very helpful. She's very powerful in Libra. She wants to seek balance and harmony. And Saturn is about responsibility and duty. But when these are in conjunct, a 150-degree angle, this is about we need to adjust. We need to adjust our relationship, our expectations to get things done and be responsible. This energy feels like we're very aware of our limitations and we can be a little annoyed. This aspect invites adjustments in love, creativity, how you spend your money, and partnership where responsibilities and limitations are highlighted. You may feel tension between your desires and your obligations, or fear that expressing your heart will create consequences. I just had this conversation with a dear friend of mine that asking for what you want, if that feels hard, you are in a one sided relationship. This is a time to really understand where you have win win situations available and where you continue to allow win lose situations to overcome you, where you lose and they win to make everybody happy. That's the downside of Libra, the shadow of Libra. And the gift of Libra, or the highest wisdom, is to find that balance, to find that win-win situation. How can you create a win situation, win-win, with your responsibilities, duties, the things you've said yes to, your commitments, and joy, fun? Maybe it's like you're the mommy taxi this week. Put on some good tunes and have fun, regardless of who likes your music in the car. That might be a win lose. Do or putting on your music in between drop offs and pickups, because that way you're like coming back into your soul, your joy. Practical reflection can reveal patterns that need maturity and restructuring. Slow down and identify where compromise undermines authenticity. We really want to notice where we are compromising our authenticity for connection. We need both. We need to stay authentic. We want to be able to ask for what we need. We want to share how we're feeling and also invite in that connection. We're not being authentic at the voice of connection, because then that is at the loss of it. Because what happens then is like, this is my truth. I'm speaking my truth. Screw you. I don't know how you feel. I don't care how you feel, or maybe I do care, but I'm scared. And so I'm just going to tell you what I think and I'm going to speak my truth. That is like one of the most damaging things you can do. Can you speak your truth while inviting in authentic connection? Saying, when this happened, this is how I felt. Can we talk about that? How did you feel when this was happening? Did you know that I was feeling this way? How can we prevent this from happening in the future? Hard conversations are going to be had this week, my friends. Monday, November 3rd, we also have Mars at 29 degrees of Scorpio. Ooh, that is an intense degree. Trining to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces retrograde. So this is an intense time. This is going to be the energy of November. These 29-degree, 0-degree aspects, we call them sort of critical degrees or anaretic degrees in astrology. And why they're critical is that it's testing you. Did you learn the lesson? The 29 degrees of Scorpio is intensity. It could be isolation. It could be escapism. It could be really words that cut. I mean, this is Mars, so this is energy. Our passion, our desires. We want to go deep. Or this could be like deep, sexuality, wanting to go intimate with somebody. And Neptune is the fog. It is spirituality. 29 degrees of Pisces is escapism, it's drugs, it's addiction, it's trying to numb yourself because the connection is so deep and we don't know what to do with it. Or there's a lot of trauma coming up and we're not sure what to do. But there's a trine here. A trine is a 120-degree angle. It's considered the most easeful, the most helpful aspect. So this is going to be helpful, but these two planets are in very intense degrees and energies. So Mars trine Neptune brings harmonious flow between action and intuition. You may feel inspired, creative, and capable of channeling energy towards meaningful or spiritual pursuits. Subtle guidance is more accessible, and your imagination supports practical steps. Take notes of moments when inspired action flows effortlessly, and you can guide yourself and others to future projects and personal growth. So the opportunity is to align efforts with intuition, creative projects, or service. And the shadow is confusion, a lack of focus, chasing illusions. And that's actually what I saw as I was speaking this, is people chasing illusions. That this is, I feel so deeply and strongly about this, but we can't actually see very clearly with 29-degree aspects. It's almost like there's such intensity, it's drowning it out. Like we're seeing things in like with a darker filter on it, right? Versus actually seeing it as it is. Maybe a little rosy, but not so rosy. This one is intense feeling. So you might even feel like you want to have sex with somebody that normally you wouldn't have, and you're like, this is not the time, my friends. You need to wait for a little bit more clarity. This is not clarity. This is intense feelings and intuition and emotions being really churned up and wanting to act on them. So being very discerning today with what you're acting on. On Tuesday, November 4th, we have Mars now moving into Sagittarius. Now, this is a 0 degree mark, right? So it's moved out of that intense scorpionic degree of 29 degrees, and now it's into Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy is light, it is ambitious, it is adventurous. It's fire that goes wherever it desires. Fire is passion, purpose, mission, inspiration, creativity. So, Sagittarius energy and Mars can really want us to like run away, run away, to hop on a plane. I know I've been feeling like I want to go on a plane ride somewhere. Mars enters Sagittarius, fueling ambition, adventure, and the pursuit of knowledge and truth. This energy encourages bold action, risk taking, and movement towards personal freedom and new experiences. You may feel restless and eager to explore or expand your horizons. Temper enthusiasm with consideration for timing and responsibility. So, really, be careful of impulsivity with this energy. This time right now is not a time to spend your money unwisely. And there's an energy coming up here, especially on Thursday, that can make you feel like you want to buy that ticket and fly away somewhere. And financially, you might then feel the repercussions of that, into December or even January. So, not the time to take big risks. Exploring new opportunities, yes. Impulsivity and ignoring practical limits are really a part of Mars in Sagittarius. So you want to be careful to remain practical and to prevent impulsivity by making sure you've planned accordingly, or park the idea for a moment. Remember, 50% of the population is an emotional driven person, right? In human design, we would call that you have a defined solar plexus. And so that emotional wave can take you out. It can feel so strong as a yes, but it's actually not a yes until it comes into neutrality. So that's a lesson I had to learn, my friends. And I'm hoping you can learn from my problems, my mistakes, that you don't just go and buy all the things because it's a hell yes. Everyone's like, if it's a hell yes, yes. If it's, unless it's an F no. And I was like, everything is a hell yes. I have a Sagittarius moon. Not today, not this week. You really want to be very mindful of your spending and where you're putting your resources. On Tuesday, as well, November 4th, now because Mars is at the 0 degree mark of Sagittarius, it's going to come to sit opposite Uranus. That's at 0 degrees of Gemini retrograde. So, this Mars opposition to Uranus is sudden shifts, surprises, and disruptions in plans. Expect the unexpected today. I know you hate it when you say it, when I say it. I hate it when I say it too. But this is the truth of this energy. You feel restless, impatient, pulled into acting impulsively. That Mars in Sagittarius is amped up with this opposition to Uranus. Uranus is erratic. It is energy. It wants to go wherever it desires. It's rebellious. And at 0 degrees of Gemini, it is rebelling against the old systems of communication, of the way that what we have learned. It's asking the questions of why. Why are we doing these things? Why did we learn these things in education? Why have we been told that this is what healthcare is? Like, what is all this, right? There's a lot of disruption with this energy. And disruption is here to help bring to the surface what needs to be seen so that it can be shored up, right? So, tension between freedom and obligation is going to be highlighted. We're really going to see this in the news this week. I feel like it's going to really be, there's going to be either a lot of protests or a lot of resistance. It's just going to come up. So, aim to channel this energy constructively rather than reactively. What did I say? Respond rather than react. Innovation or new approaches are possible if you pause before acting. So, breaking free from outdated routines, embracing new perspectives are possible with this energy. But what is not so possible is, well, what is possible, but also on the shadow side, is impulsivity, accidents, and rebellious streaks. Mars rules cars. And Mars rules our energy, our motivation, our desire, impulsivity, making rash decisions. At the 0 degree mark of Sagittarius, is you're trying to learn how to use this powerful energy. And if you're not being mindful, you can hurt yourself. You can stub your toe. You can, hit your leg on the corner of the table. You can also get into car accidents. This is a high chance of car accidents on this day from this energy. So be careful. Today is not the day to weave in and out of traffic. Today is not the day to flip off the guy who just cut you off because he might have something in his car that you didn't expect. This is a time of high tempers. So catch yourself, meditate, really notice if somebody cuts you off in traffic, they got to poop. They're just running to the toilet, y'all, or something. They're in a medical emergency and they need to get somewhere. Bless and go. They're not thinking of you at all. And if they're annoyed with you in traffic, bless, blow a kiss, and wish them well. Okay. This is not the day to get into confrontations with random strangers. Okay. Nor is any other day, but let's be honest, today especially. On Wednesday, November 5th, now the energies are building, y'all, to this full moon at the 13th degree of Taurus. So 13 degrees of Taurus, it's ruled by Venus, and Venus being in Libra, this is a great sign, and also a lot of love coming into this sign. So illuminating finances, personal security. Taurus is about grounded earthly pleasures, but also things that last the test of time, longevity, long-term planning. Taurus is fixed earth. It is the most stable, most grounded sign of the entire zodiac, and also comes with stubbornness. Then also comes with the fact that, it doesn't want to move very fast. It needs a lot of time to make decisions and be okay with it. This full moon is happening at the 13th degree of Taurus at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Venus is squaring Pluto and Jupiter. So Venus is values, relationships, and money, and it is squaring Pluto and Jupiter. They're opposite each other in the sky. What this means is there is going to be a shakeup to your relationships and a asking of you to be really mindful of where you're putting your time, energy, resources, because you're going to want to do a lot. And Pluto is going to be like, no, we are not doing that anymore. So the old patterns are going to come calling. And this is a test. How much did you learn about where you put your resources? Are you spending time, money, energy in ways that bring your values and goals to the surface, or you minimize them to make everybody else happy? Really going to come up during this full moon. Be conscious. And the new moon, the full moon always brings up, what came in, at the new moon 6 months ago. And to really look back at that time 6 months ago, as I realize I don't have this handy as I'm talking this, even though I've written it in my notes and it is gone. So I'll get you that date in a moment. But as we talk about that, this is a 6-month cycle. And in this 6-month cycle, you're going to have had challenges to your relationships, money, and the things that you valued. And now it's asking you, how much have you learned from that? So the last time the moon was new in Taurus was April 27th, 2025. Look back on April 27th, new moon, and see what have you learned since then. What might be coming up now that came up then? Okay, this is going to be very, very helpful for you. Alignment with long-term goals can be achieved through conscious awareness and practical adjustments. The universe is rooting for you, my friends. It wants you to get your dreams, to get your values in there, to make your life what you want. Your desires are coming up from your soul. And guess what? Your soul is part of the divine. So you realizing your desires is actually honestly making the divine super fulfilled and expansive, right? Everything is expanding when you do the things that you desire to do. But you block yourself when you stick with these old patterns, and you get these old patterns from people, places, and things that you've experienced in your past that aren't actually truly who you are. So evaluate your finances, stability, and personal priorities, and making choices only from that place. I can feel the constriction in my heart because we love dining out, and that is not in alignment with our financial goals, So we're going to have to be really mindful of eating at home during this time. Blessings. All right, Thursday, November 6th, Mars is sextile to Pluto. This is a very helpful energy after this full moon. This is supportive, encourages strategic action and deep transformation. You may feel empowered to pursue ambitious goals while connecting with inner resilience. Challenges can be overcome with discipline and vision. Use this energy to push forward with projects that require intensity, long-term commitment. Things that are hard for you and that you're, kind of like you need to get done, you might want to put that on Thursday. But there's another aspect happening on Thursday that's going to maybe destabilize that. But I'm going to say this: Mars sextile to Pluto, it's not as intense of some of these other energies, but it's there. There's an underlying undercurrent of being able to get work done if you stay disciplined and focused on your goals and your to-do list. You can do it, but you're going to have, it's going to require immense energy to do so. But there's support to that, okay? Because also on Thursday, we have Venus at the last degrees of Libra, 29 degrees Libra. I just heard someone say, my God, these 29 degrees. I know. No, November is full of them. So being 29 degree Libra, this Venus is about relationships, and 29 degrees Libra of how much you give away. How much of your identity, worth, beingness is tacked into how other people see you. This is anxious attachment turned up to its highest, right? Anxious attachment means we look for our belonging in others. We look for our worth in other people. If you like me, then I'm a good person. And then I belong, then I have value. And yeah, that might sound crazy as F, but when you think back to your life, how many times did you do something to be in a relationship with someone else? The way you dressed, the way you act, the way you talked, right? You just look back to elementary school and you will find a million examples of who you were because you wanted to fit in. You didn't want to be the other person, the person on the out that ate lunch by themselves. And if you were the person that ate lunch by themselves, then you felt this, right? You definitely felt that. It's hard. It's so hard to be alone when you're a child. And so we will do everything to minimize our authenticity for connection. So this energy today is going to really, and it's not just today, it's going to be this whole week, right? This whole week, because it's also part of the full moon. It's this energy, it's in conjunct to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. You know, it's just sitting there, 29 degrees of Pisces, bringing up all our trauma of how we disconnect from source, how we disconnect from our true authentic self. So Venus in conjunct Neptune highlights potential confusion in love, finances, and creativity. Boundaries may feel blurred and expectations can feel unrealistic at this time. Reflection is key to distinguish fantasy from sustainable choices. Okay. Really sitting in, what do I want? Remember that manifesto that you created at the beginning of the week? So helpful on this day because you're going to go back and read that going, no, I'm no longer open to one sided relationships and contracts. Thank you so much for offering, asking me to do this thing. I'm unfortunately I'm not available on that day because I do have other appointments. I don't have to explain what appointments those are. Thank you so much. I really hope you find success and you find someone to help you out. Maybe here's a few names of people that might support you. Bye. You know, it's like, as an empath, you're going to be tested this week. No is not a complete answer to you, and that's okay, right? I see you, I hear you. Not right now. Unfortunately, I'm not available. I'm so sorry I can't do that with you. Those things are valid. They're valid to say, right? As an empath. Reflection is key, and emotional sensitivity is can be used as a guide if grounded in clarity. Now, I'm going to say emotional sensitivity is going to be high this week. High, right? Higher than your neighbor. I'm just kidding. I don't know if your neighbor's high. But Neptune is 29 degrees of Pisces. It really amps up our sensitivity. You can feel very emotional and you can feel so aware of how other people feel about you. So when you say no, or when you're putting up a boundary, you got to put it up with the fact that you're going to feel what they're feeling about you. And again, that's why that no is not a complete answer. A thing can come in. You can say, I can feel your disappointment. I understand, thank you. I'm honored to be disappointed, but I can't make it. It's okay. It's okay to say that. Also, honoring commitments where you've made commitments and noticing where you do not want to make commitments in the future. Because I'm not an advocate for just breaking commitments because you don't feel good. Obviously, if you don't feel good, yeah, you shouldn't go. But if you made a commitment and you're like, okay, you know what, everyone's waiting for me, or I'm supposed to bring the main dish, I don't want to go. You got to go. You got to go bring the dish, say hi, maybe see what you can glean out of the situation. Why did you say yes? And then decide next time that you're going to say no, right? Lessons live in the doing of things that are hard. Honoring, of course, how you feel. Now, Thursday, November 7th, Venus moves into Scorpio. And she doesn't love being in Scorpio. Scorpio is very intense. And It is a water sign, and she holds a lot of secrets, y'all. So Venus entering Scorpio brings intensity, depth, and focus on relationships, intimacy, and values. Emotional honesty and passion are amplified, and you may feel compelled to go deeper in partnerships or creative endeavors. This is a time for transformational experiences in love, money, and self-worth. Now, Scorpio rules other people's money, debt, taxes, and the money we owe. And when Venus moves into Scorpio, this is a really important time to be very mindful in making sure that you're paying down your taxes, that you're taking care of your debt, that interest that is accrued is being looked after, and you're paying more than just the minimum payment on things. So this is an invitation to get your money house in order. Because if you do the work when Venus is in Scorpio, you are going to be richly rewarded when Venus is in Taurus, which is your money, your resources, the money you earn. So, paying attention to where your money is flowing out of your life and being a good steward of your money, very helpful. That's going to help you when Venus is in Scorpio. And then, of course, on Thursday, November 6th, we have, because she's at the 0 degree mark of Scorpio, she's going to be making an inconjunct to that 0 degrees Uranus at Gemini. And then inconjunct is a need for adjustment between these two 0 degree planets. So, what does this all mean? Unexpected shifts. Unexpected. Ooh, that's a word for this week, right? Everyone loves that word. No. So expect the unexpected shifts in love, money, and personal values. Surprises or disruptions encourage flexibility, innovation in how you relate to others. Avoid clinging to outdated patterns and routines, and embracing curiosity and adapting to new insights. Break free from restrictive dynamics, embracing new approaches. This is really going to help you break free of old relationship patterns. Like the universe is really amping up, supporting you getting out of these old soul contracts and ways of doing things that are not serving you anymore. So there's going to be a lot of tests. There's going to be a lot of like disruption because you're not meant to stay there anymore. And if you notice that things are crumbling around you, I want you to take a deep breath and ask, what is the highest purpose that this is happening for me? What is the highest purpose? What is the opportunities that this is bringing into my life? And you might not be able to see it in the depths of grief, and that's okay. It's okay. Know that it'll come. Clarity will come. And just moving through it as fast as easily as you can, it's going to be okay. And then as we move into Friday, we now have Mercury, Uranus, right, retrograding. It's been retrograde, right? It was at that 0 degree mark of Gemini, and now it's moving back into Taurus, So the last time it was here, we were celebrating this new planet moving into Gemini, bringing all this new innovation and increases in communication and understanding things. As it's been retrograde, we've been really noticing how communications, media, social media, not up to snuff, right? A really big one that's coming to mind is the White House and the Trump administration forcing every reporter who is reports in the Pentagon and is in the Pentagon to, if they have security clearance, they have to then sign a document that they will not report on anything that hasn't been sanctioned first by the administration. So they can't talk on stories of the past, even though they've been, the reports have been sent out. Everything must be approved, and so the media is not free. And so at the point of time that I'm recording this, all of the media staff have given up. Majority of all of them, except for one weird outlet, has given up their clearance and their passes and have walked out. They refuse to be handcuffed by what they can and cannot say, and they want the freedom of the press to report on what's happening and keeping the government in check, right? It's one of the checks and balances in place in the US. So this is now, that was kind of the disruption that's being brought up to communication. Now, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus, and Taurus is about our money, our banking systems, the resources that we have, the environment, Mother Nature's resources. So this is going to bring disruption to our banking systems and I'm going to say money systems around the world. An example of this was when the Trump administration brought in tariffs. The tariffs destabilized global trading to such a degree that the dollar dropped, and there was a lot of like the banks were destabilized, interest rates had to be shifted. Like it was really destabilizing for the world. And whether you believe they were good or bad, that's not up for debate here, but it destabilized the world, and that's truth, that's fact. You can't debate that. That is actual fact that happened. So as Uranus is moving back into Taurus, we're going to see a little bit more of that happen again. And again, this is because it's retrograding back into Taurus for the last time. It's been here since July 7th is when it went into Gemini. So thinking back to the week of July 7th leading up to the first week of July, they're going to be revisiting those aspects. So look back in your life. What was happening in your financial life, in your resources, in your long-term commitments and goals in the first week of July, because Uranus is going to come back to that degree again. And we will be back at this degree again when Uranus goes direct and goes through back into Gemini on April 25th, 2026. Okay. So these 3 dates are linked: July 7th, November 7th, and then April 25, 2026. These 3 days are going to bring up something that's in play in your life. These outer planets, when they change signs, they bring a lot of shift. This one, and Uranus is like erratic. It is a strong energy. It is going to be felt, right? It rules earthquakes, it rules volcanic eruptions. Like this is important. So paying attention, sudden changes in independence, personal freedom, especially regarding stability, values, and material security. Situations from July 7th are resurfacing for review, giving you a chance to reassess choices, habits, and financial strategies. Expect unexpected insights that challenges old structures. Flexibility and curiosity are allies as you revisit past patterns and make aligned adjustments. Oh, flexibility and curiosity are your friends, my friends. Reevaluating your resources, habits, and self sufficiency. This is a great time to do a budget. No, it's going to bring up a lot because as we've seen, there's some the scorpionic energy coming in here. So we're going to feel the trauma and feel that pattern. Everyone's got money trauma, y'all. You're not normal if you don't. So it's normal to have money trauma. This is a time, the shadow aspect is resistance to change and clinging to outdated routines. You're not going to be able to, because you're going to continue to suffer if you do. That's a doubling down on suffering. And then Friday, we have another interesting aspect of Venus square to Pluto. So this is a real, again, Venus is being really kind of run through the ringer with this, because the square to Pluto is difficult emotions, confrontations, power struggles. This can feel like woe is me victim energy, if I'm being honest. So you're going to have encounters in relationships around money. You're going to have encounters in relationships around time, energy, and what is expected of you and what's not. And Pluto is here to break that up, right? So friendships falling apart this week, relationships maybe being tested and challenged. And remember, everything is an opportunity. So if it's being challenged, there's an opportunity for it to fall apart or to become stronger and come back together, right? You can heal what's being kind of brought to the surface now. Pluto is research. It wants to go to the depth. It rules Scorpio, right? It's death, rebirth, and transformation. So something has to die for something to be reborn. You can't just be reborn and born and born. Like something has to die. You know what I mean? You can't just come back with more and more stuff. So hidden motivations may surface, prompting honesty and self reflection. You may feel compelled to let go of anything that no longer serves your growth, embracing the opportunity to transform how you relate to yourself and others, facing the shadow patterns in love, intimacy, and resources. This is going to be a great day to clean out your closet, to get rid of all the clutter in your house, to say, what do I actually need? Because when you die, all of it's gone. You're not taking any of it with you. So really looking around and seeing like, what do I actually need in here? If I get rid of all of these things, would I still be okay? Maybe you got to clean out your closet. Maybe you got to clean out all your books and stuff. I mean, I'm speaking to you because I'm speaking to myself. So notice where you can let go of stuff. And then control, jealousy, and obsession are also part of this. So noticing if you're feeling those things. Jealousy is about, I can't have what that person has. That's not true. That's actually scarcity. If you see somebody else having something you want, that's interesting. That's an example to me of I can have what I want to. I just need to find the alignment for myself as they found it for themselves. Blessings to you. Thank you for showing me that it's possible because I know I can do it. It's a lack of belief in self, right? When you feel jealous of someone else, how can you bring that back into yourself? All right. And finally, we round out this week of intense energies with Sunday, November 9th, Mercury retrograding. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, and this is a pause, a giant pause for the universe for us to slow down, to reassess, to review, to revise our plans, the things that we're talking about, dreaming about, thinking about, writing about. Mercury rules communication, our thought processing, our closest connections, community, our coordination. And with Mars having that aspect to Uranus, which is going to still be an aspect, but moving off the exact degree this week, your coordination is going to be very off. Communication is very off. Mercury sits at the same degree because it's what it means in the sky is that it's slowing down in its trajectory around the sun. So planets speed up and slow down in their orbit of the sun. And when it slows down relative to the Earth and it goes slower than the Earth in its orbit, we call that retrograde. All the outer planets will do that. They go slower than the Earth. The moon does not do that, right? Every planet, the sun obviously is the center of the universe, so we are not comparing. The sun never goes retrograde, the moon never goes retrograde, but everything else does. Retrogrades are a period of taking note, slowing down, really practicing introspection and awareness. So important during this time. So, Mercury retrograding in a fire sign is also very interesting. So, it's starting off retrograde at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, and it will move back into Scorpio, and then it'll go direct. So, we want to pay attention to these timings specifically. October 21st to November 1st, where Mercury is going to go over those degrees again. So, anything you were thinking about, dreaming about, writing about, talking about during October 21st to November 9th, you will be revising it, reassessing it, having to redo it in some way that makes it better. That makes it better. You're gleaning new life lessons right now. And Sagittarius is about knowledge. It is about adventure. It is about our forward momentum, manifestation, what's on the horizon, our goals, right? This is like we're wanting to revise, review, and reassess them. And this is a perfect time to do that. So, we're sort of in this time frame now where we're going to be planning for 2026 ish, ish. I mean, as a business owner, I've already planned the majority of 2026. So this is going to help you to look back over those plans and maybe go, oh, you know what? I saw something here. Oh, actually, I don't want to do that this way. So this retrograde begins inviting reviewing, reassessment, and realignment in communication, travel, and decision making. Misunderstandings or delays may occur, and old projects may surface. Old relationships may surface too. This is a time to pause, reflect, and refine your approach before moving forward. Patience is essential. Patience is not a virtue of Sagittarius. It's something Sages, Leos, and Aries have to learn, right? It is not something Sagittarius want to go. They want to follow their passion and mission. And this energy is like, no, you can't go yet. You got to think about where you want to go. And Sagittarius is like, watch me. And then the universe is like, you're in timeout. So this is what's happening. Patience is essential, and careful planning will save future stress. Revisit ideas, plans, and agreements that, with discernment, that you started between November 1st to November 9th. Okay, really paying attention. Downside of Mercury retrograde: miscommunication, frustration, patience. Things are not going to move forward for you now. It's not meant to. This is a time to go back and dot the I's and cross the T's, to go back and do the work that you missed, right? If you're a manifesting generator, I know I'm crossing over modalities, but if you're a manifesting generator, this is a time when I feel like it's the universe going, you got to go back and do the steps that you missed. Because I love to miss steps. I love to jump upstairs, and then I got to go back and do the stairs that I missed. Right? There's no jumping steps in the universe. You've got to go back and do the things that you missed. This is part of that. So pay attention. Also, travel during the time of Mercury retrograde. So from November 9th to November 29th, you are going to, if you're traveling during that time, put in air tags in your luggage, right? Lost luggage, so common during Mercury retrograde. Planes being canceled, planes being redirected, delays, massive delays. So take extra books, take extra entertainment, pack extra patience if you are driving, flying, taking a train anywhere. Mars rules transportation, but Mercury rules like communication and travel. So this is a time where we want to just be extra patient. So not easy as humans. So paying attention, because October 21st to November 9th, you're going to go over that again from November 9th to November 29th. And then post retrograde is November 29th to December 16th. And this is the time when the nuggets of wisdom come out. This is when you're like, oh, that's why I had to do that. Or, oh my God, I realize now that this thing was connected to this thing. And this is amazing, right? These are when the wisdom bombs come in, the nuggets of gold and diamonds surface in your life. So if you ride these waves, this is why I love MIA Academy, because we talk about this. We go into depth on this. You're following the flow of the energy. You're not trying to fight it. This is a time when we are meant to slow down. And if you're born with Mercury retrograde, this is your time. Everything feels like it's now catching up with you, and you are in your genius energy during this time. So how do you know if you're born with Mercury retrograde? You could Google it. You could look up your chart, or you could have an astrology reading with me if you desire. And if that's something you desire, I would urge you to DM me, because you're not going to get into my calendar. To find a 2-hour time slot is just not possible with my calendar system. So DM me and we'll see what we can do. So I'm wishing you a mindful, grounded, responsive week to the energies that are coming up here. And remember, everything for an opportunity. What is this bringing up for you to heal, to move into a new echelon of evolution for your own soul and consciousness? Sending you love and blessings. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.shetellstory.com and follow us on Instagram at shetellstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is She Tells Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of She Tells Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.